As they sing in Lerner and Loewe's musical Camelot, tra-la, it's May, the lusty month of May, that lovely month where everyone goes blissfully astray. In Camelot, the month of May is a time to celebrate lovemaking. In the real world, the month of May is a time to celebrate military weapons and their effects. May 1st, May Day, was the day the Soviet Union paraded their tanks, artillery pieces, missiles, and other military hardware in Red Square. In the United States, the third Saturday of May is Armed Forces Day. Originally, it was a day to honor military people. But over the years, the focus has turned to weapons. Military bases are open to the public to view weapon systems, and aerial demonstrations or air shows occur across the United States. And then, at the end of the month, on Memorial Day, we remember the military people killed by these weapons. And so it is quite fitting that we are holding this citizen hearing on the newest and most expensive weapon, the F-35, in May. And just as we end the military month of May by remembering the cost of weapons in terms of military lives lost, it is appropriate to recognize the cost of the F-35 to people. You have heard the F-35 is the most expensive weapon system in human history. How is the government planning on paying for the F-35? Our tax dollars, for sure. As taxpayers, we will all pay for it. But a few categories of people will pay way more than their fair share. Who are the people that will pay more? They are those who are currently serving in the military, the active duty, the Guard, and the reserves and their families, and veterans, and those returning home from war injured and disabled. The Pentagon intends to pay for the F-35 by cutting military personnel and by cutting military personnel benefits, including health care and benefits for military families. This is nothing new. The military has been paying for weapon systems by cutting people programs for decades. Hardware first, people second. But given the astronomical cost of the F-35, draconian measures are being considered to pay for it. And those measures directly affect military people and veterans. For example, in just the Air Force, which is my service, lawmakers have agreed to a budget that would cut almost 5,000 airmen this fiscal year. Specifically, they plan to cut over 3,000 active duty airmen, 1,000 airmen from the Air National Guard, and over 500 from the reserves. But the cost to military people doesn't end there. Our veterans are among the most vulnerable. Post 9/11 veterans suffer high unemployment. Half have filed for disability. An estimated 1 in 5 suffer from war-related post-traumatic stress. Suicides have reached crisis levels, almost 7,000 a year. Yet the Pentagon is proposing that these veterans shoulder a 300% increase in health care premiums, cuts to job training programs, and cuts to programs that house homeless veterans. Congress and the President have already agreed to triple the health care premiums paid by veterans. This comes as a shock to veterans who served this country and were promised specific pension and health care benefits in return. Senator Sanders corroborated that some VA job training programs and housing for homeless veterans may be cut. Nationally, more than 800,000 veterans are out of work, and 100,000 homeless veterans could lose access to shelter. And the federal government is now proposing to change veterans' disability payments in order to pay for other military needs. A leader in the American Legion, Mr. Louis Celli, said, and I quote, "I think veterans have already paid their fair share to support this nation. They've paid it in lower wages while serving. They've paid it through their wounds and sacrifices on the battlefield, and they're paying for it now as they try to recover from these wounds," end quote. Senator Sanders agreed by saying, and I quote, "I don't believe the American people want to see our budget balanced on the backs of disabled veterans," end quote. But regardless of what the American people want or what Senator Sanders says, the fact is military people and their families, as well as veterans, including those still suffering physical and psychological effects of fighting our battles, will be the ones to pay. All this so that the Pentagon can spend trillions on failing and unnecessary weapons programs. Last month, retired Vice Admiral Ryan, the president of the Military Officers Association of America, the most respected and influential professional military association, and not in the least bit considered a liberal organization, wrote, and I quote, "Daily we deal with powerful forces in government, defense leadership, and the media calling for reducing the deficit by raising military health care fees. Truth be told, the Pentagon has used the military health care account as a cash cow to fund other programs," end quote. Military people and veterans pay for weapon systems, including the F-35, with their tax dollars. They pay for it again by dedicating part of their lives in service to the military. And they pay yet again when their pay is cut, when their disability benefits are cut, when their health care is cut, when their families' benefits are cut, when programs that help unemployed veterans are cut, when programs that help homeless veterans are cut, and when their health care costs are increased. Every single one of these cuts has either taken place or has been proposed in order for the Department of Defense to pay for weapon systems, including the F-35. The Vermont Workers' Center's motto is "Put people first." We should adopt that motto for the F-35. The F-35A will affect the lives of over 7,000 people in our area and millions of military members and veterans across our country. We need to put people first and choose people over these planes. Thank you.